Bobby Deskins for what time we got? 4:30 on the dot, and we're talking tropics today. This is our weather impact alert we were talking about on Friday. We issued it then for today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And for us here, especially West Central Florida, the main issue is going to be some pretty good thunderstorms and heavy rainfall. So some localized flooding is possible in some locations. You know the spots, if you get some heavy rain, it tends to flood that corner, that intersection, that part of the yard, that type of thing. That is something that we'll be watching for, but we've seen winds gusting up towards about 50 miles per hour today, and we could see some of that, and 58 and above gives us some of those severe thunderstorm warnings, so it's something we'll keep an eye on. Let's start with the tropics. What's driving all of this is this area of low pressure that's actually looking a whole lot more organized this afternoon, just east of Florida. And as of 2 o'clock, the Hurricane Center said that it's a 20 to 30% chance. Let me keep an eye on that now just to make sure they haven't changed that. But 20% chance that this develops within the next 2 days. All right. And they actually had this area over here shaded, but now they've shaded this area as well. They started out there, they went over to the west, and now they're kind of back here. And then a 30% chance that it develops as it moves out here in the Northeast Gulf and kind of drifts off towards the west. So that's where we stand with it right now. It still looks like, yeah, they're at 20 to 30% for that. So let's take a closer look at it. And guys, it's really starting to look a little interesting here. There's clearly some northerly winds coming in that are blowing a lot of the convection off down here towards the south. See all these clouds? There's actually a low-level circulation somewhere sitting right in here. But you don't see any clouds on the north side because of this shear that I drew with that line right there. However, despite that, you still see it starting to rotate pretty well here. So we really need to keep a close eye on that. And more than anything else, look what's happening here. These are essentially outer rain bands of this low that's trying to develop. And that's what our weather is tonight, right now, okay? In Polk County, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is raining to beat the band out there, and some really good lightning in there. And that's where we could get these 50-mile-per-hour winds and small hail. And I'll show you that coming up too. We've seen hail about pea, a little bit more than pea, almost to marble size. But this is just kind of the rotation that's around here. This will likely sit out here overnight tonight, and then eventually the model's trying to take it in towards Daytona, maybe even a little north of Daytona tomorrow, but the models are all over the place, so we'll talk about that. Let's get to our local weather right now, because no severe thunderstorm warnings at this point. Let me check to make sure. But look at this part. Haines City, Lynchburg, Polk City. Look at all of that lightning. Right now, these are drifting to this. Well, I shouldn't even say drifting. They're moving quickly to the south at about 20 miles per hour. So the good news is that'll get them in and out of there pretty quickly. But that's also headed down to Frostproof here. And that main line that you see right there, well, that's going to be over towards Lakeland. Well, it's right there now. But Bartow, about 5:06. All right, so just about a half an hour from now. And I would say it's probably a little sooner than that. I'd say closer to about 5 o'clock. Frostproof about 5:16. And that's just for that main line. That doesn't include any of the rain that you're seeing out there right now. Now, hail. There is some hail in there. Look at this right out here south of Poinciana on the line. That right there is close to severe thunderstorm criteria, okay? In fact, it is. 0.75 and above would give us that. This is just a radar estimate. Most of what we've seen today is below that. If you look out here just south of Bartow, and that's a smaller cell south of Bartow, and that's got half-inch diameter. All right, so that's pea to marble right there. As far as velocity and winds go, we're not seeing a ton of that, but again, we are seeing some, and the threat would be anything over 50, 60 miles per hour. So those winds there are generally in the mid-40s. All right, that's in this area in the Lakeland, especially south of Lakeland now. Let me put this into motion. You can see it's really expanding right in this area here, south of I-4. All right, Plant City right there. So it's just to your south in the east. Moving down towards Bartow, you're going to get some very gusty winds. See those pinks right there? That's about 45-mile-per-hour winds in those thunderstorms, and that's headed towards Bartow. So that's going to cause, pretty good little thunderstorm as it's coming through. Of course, we have a ton of lightning, and we've had a lot of issues with people getting struck by lightning lately. Please, there's a ton of storms out there right now. Now is the time to move indoors. Let's go out to Lakeland. This is a live shot from the Mid-Florida Credit Union building right now. And you can see not terrible in that direction right there, but clearly we're going to continue to see the storms push through the south and the east of town. The good news is, we get back over here to the radar, that most of that rain at least for the Lakeland area, that first cell is gone. You have the second cell right here. Watch when I put this in motion. You're going to see this dropping southward. And so just about everybody in Polk County is going to get a really good thunderstorm here in just a little bit if you're not seeing it now. So especially places like Lake Wales down to Frostproof, which has got rid of one. You've got the thicker line coming in. Now let's move up a little bit. Down south, Hardy, Highlands County, those are falling apart. They're weaker. That's good news. But remember, we've put down quite a bit of rain already. And in some spots out here in northeastern Highlands County, we've already seen 3 inches of rain, and that's today alone. Okay, and you've got probably another 1 to 2 coming at least. So now you're talking 4 or 5 inches of rainfall, and anything on top of that is going to cause some flooding. And that's in an area that's actually seen quite a bit of rain lately. So we don't have a drought situation for them. Back out towards the coast, and I'll put this in motion here. You can see we're actually looking pretty good here. We had some rainfall apart over southern Pinellas and right over AMI, Longboat Key a little bit. Well, almost Longboat Key. But you can see most of it's I-75 and inland. Now, let me zoom out a little bit. And if you look at these cells up north, south of Gainesville, you see these? These are coming more in this direction, right? These are coming like this. And then if you notice, these are still a little south, but not much. So this is the center sitting out here. These would be rotating a little like this eventually. So does this batch come south-southwest and get into Tampa? The modeling suggests that it does. So our forecast is for this to continue to move to the south as we go through the evening hours and then eventually get into Tampa. Now I'm going to go ahead and just track just this leading edge here towards Tampa, just ballpark timing for you here, right? And that would be in the Tampa area close to about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And then you see down towards Bradenton, that would be about 9:15 or so. And that's the leading edge of just what's up there near Bellevue, okay? So that's our evening weather. And some of those are going to be a little bit on the strong side. And most of it, luckily, I think will get here after we get most of the evening commute out of the way. So traffic's going to be bad enough, but I think it does get a little bit better as far as getting the heavier rain in here later. Now, and I drew all that because there is the possibility that with this starting to crank up a little bit, there is a possibility that we end up kind of wrapping it around and keeping it right off the immediate coast. So maybe Pinellas doesn't see as much, Newport Richey, I would still bet on it tonight, especially 7 to 9 p.m., 6:30 to 9 p.m. or so. In the Tampa area and points northward. That's when I'll expect to see more of it. All right, now back out to the tropics, or at least this disturbance here. So what you're seeing here in the visible satellite, I'm looking at this low-level stuff out here. These are obviously the tops of thunderstorms. It's tough to see underneath those, of course, but you can see where the taller ones are, okay? I can also see where that low-level wind is. What's that circulation look like? And that's what you're getting from these little ones out here. And it does appear that we've got some circulation in here. In fact, if you look where they plotted it last, they've got it a little more to the north and the east. They've got something sitting out here. That's not underneath this convection. All right, if it was, we'd have a tropical depression on our hands. This has a little bit of wind shear on it, so it's not very well organized at this point. May not be before it moves on shore, but again, here's the weather that it's spinning our way, and so it doesn't really matter what this is at this point. Okay, but now let's just look at just the radar. So the radar site over in Melbourne got hit by lightning, so it's been down. The Jacksonville radar site was undergoing just some normal scheduled work, and so this whole area, well, we had some radar data, but not a whole lot. And guess where we were needing to look? So fortunately, Melbourne was able to get their radar back up this afternoon, and so now we're getting a better idea of this. Tropical systems tend to flare up overnight over warm water. This is clearly warm water out here, right? 80+ degree water. So as these storms move through later this evening, they will fall apart after about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And we'll get another band to come on shore over on the East Coast. You can see it lining up right here. But it'll be interesting to see what happens out here, okay? Because the storms today are starting to weaken. You can see just from the visible satellite that those clouds are starting to fall apart, just thin out, just thin out just a little bit right there, last couple frames. That's expected. But then later tonight, especially closer, say 11 or midnight or so, what you're seeing out over here, you see this thunderstorm right here starting to flare up? I think we'll see more of that around here. And that's what I'm interested to see, because if we can get rid of any of the shear that's up here, then you'll have more thunderstorms form around the center, where the low-level center is, if it's still up here. And then you're talking about a little bit better chance for development. Now, Recon is not out there. Recon's going to go out tomorrow. Okay, they're going to fly out there. Hurricane hunters will be out there tomorrow midday, around lunchtime. And so by probably 2 o'clock, we may know something. All right, it's going to be close. -3 is 1 o'clock. We may know something, because it's a short trip for them, especially if Lakeland's doing it, NOAA. Either way, by 2 o'clock, we may know something. By 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we'll have a lot more. But they've got radar on it now, so we'll be able to see a lot. This is the forecast model again. So this is our graph model. Let me show you. This is right now through, and I'm going to stop this tomorrow at around, let's say, 1:30. Look where it has the center. All right, you can see the winds wrapping around. Obviously not a lot of wind over land. There's more wind on the east side. But look, it's not a ton of rain either, but like this is just south of Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Daytona almost, right about there. And so it has it from here, just kind of sitting here, maybe drifting to the south, to just going like this pretty quickly overnight tonight and tomorrow. And then by tomorrow night, that was 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. This is 10 o'clock tomorrow, p.m. And now it's got it over here, right? And southeast winds taking over behind it for us. And it's not a lot of wind, but it's just breezy, if that. And then here we go into Wednesday around lunchtime. Now it's starting to see something. And this has been what most of the models have been seeing. They have been saying, okay, look, there's a real small chance that something develops here. We just think it's a green blob of moisture coming across Florida with a flood threat. And then once it gets out into the eastern Gulf, but especially the central Gulf, it has a better chance of developing. The latest run of our model is looking more impressive out here south of Mississippi and Alabama. Okay, Mississippi there, Alabama there, and you can see New Orleans. Now watch what happens. This is, again, Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Kind of fell apart, but still it's got something sitting out in here. All right, meanwhile, we're done with it, right? We're going to have some showers and storms Wednesday afternoon, but it's more of a southeast wind. So whatever this is, it's coming across Florida, it looks like tonight and tomorrow, mainly tomorrow, and then out into the Gulf of Mexico by the time we get into, it looks like now, Wednesday afternoon. So how much wind? Number one, not a lot of wind. It's going to get breezy. Obviously, in a thunderstorm, we get 50-mile-per-hour winds, but that thunderstorm comes and goes, okay? Tropical. When you think of tropical systems, you think of all the wind that comes with it. This does not have that yet. This is our graph model. Now, I want you to see all these colors that are out here. So the graph model is made up of some short-term model data and then long-term model data. This is the short-term. And you see how it's got all this wind here. Watch as we go out in time. It's going to switch. Still has a lot of wind. This is saying that by 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's got quite a bit of wind offshore. Nothing onshore. Even Jacksonville looks good. But yeah, Georgia, South Carolina, a little breeze coming in off the ocean. Okay, now, see that switch? That's the difference between the long range, the short range right here, and the long range modeling. The long range modeling will come in again. So it's going to be interesting to see if it jumps up and catches up with the short range, because that would put more wind into Jacksonville and up towards Georgia. Okay, notice for the Tampa area, we're fine, right? It's a little breezy out there right now, but that's a factor of all these thunderstorms that are around the area right now. So I think it will stay a little breezy, at least 10 to 15 out of the north and the west. This is tomorrow at around lunchtime. Let's go out to Wednesday at around 7:30 in the morning. Now the center is sitting out here. Okay, you can see the winds have turned to the southeast for us. That's another thing, you know, storms are coming like this today. They'll start coming out of the south late tomorrow night and then southeast on Wednesday. So it's gonna get mixed up if you're paying close attention to where they're coming from. And then here we go. It's still nothing organized out here, nothing major, struggling. And then we get into Wednesday at 10 o'clock, a little bit better organization here, and you can see a little bit more winds out here coming in from the south, heading up towards the Panhandle. This will be a side shore wind for us, longshore current essentially. So boating, I think, could be a little on the bumpy side, especially late Tuesday and Wednesday. This is even Thursday morning at around 8:30. There's the center. Again, according to our forecast model here, right? But then now let's go out to 8:30. There it is, Thursday morning. See the winds. And then that's about as far out as that goes. Now here's the GFS model. Very broad area of low pressure here, nothing major. There it is there. This is Wednesday, 10 in the morning. Our rain, see, this is what I'm concerned about us on Wednesday. It's not terrible, but we're going to have some storms that start in the southeast and come up like this. And so you're going to get some training of storms. You get one right after the other. We could have a little bit of a flooding situation on Wednesday as well. And that's another reason why we extended this weather impact alert all the way through Wednesday. All right, now this is Thursday, 1 o'clock, somewhere in here. All right, so New Orleans, a lot of the models have been kind of looking at New Orleans for something. Here's European, similar to our model, right? The graph, it comes in somewhere south of Jacksonville. See all the rain, the dark green right there? That's obviously the heavier rainfall. Going to have a ton of rain here. And then it comes across. So that highest rain chance is going to be I-4 northward during the day tomorrow, if that happens, into tomorrow evening. This is Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. There it is. Okay, nothing major. That is 5 a.m. Thursday. Something in here, maybe. Very disorganized, nothing major at all. And then it kind of tries to drift into southeast Louisiana, Mississippi as we get into Thursday afternoon. All right, forecast rainfall for us, and this is just the European forecast model. And this is like, look, remember we did this a week and a half ago, and we were talking about how weather patterns repeat. And we knew around the 14th or 15th, we're probably going to be doing this again. And now that's exactly what we're seeing. So if you go back to a week and a half, 2 weeks ago when we saw all the heavier rainfall, most areas saw about 1 inch to 3 inches. Some spots saw 7 to 10, right? 7 inches a day and then saw 3 inches the next day, that type of thing. That's probably what's going to happen in this case. Not everybody's getting 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. And Craig in Sarasota said I said 10, which I would never say 10. Somebody actually got it. I did say that, but this is about a 3 to 6er. Is what I would call it. And look at this. You see how you got some purple here, purple here, purple here. Purple is getting 3+. You don't have big swaths. Look out here. You see that big swath right there? You don't see a lot of that overland. You're probably going to get something somewhere up here, Gainesville, maybe even Citrus County. And we may get another one down here, down south. But the overall idea here is to say, yeah, we have a weather impact alert through Wednesday. Technically, we may even extend it into Thursday, just because of some extra rain, especially along the coast. But over that period, we could see about 3 to 6 inches of rainfall in any one location, okay? Most areas you get about 1 inch or maybe 3 inches out of it. That's kind of my thought at this particular point. Now, because of that, we have what's called a excessive rainfall. So what's the probability of us seeing so much heavy rainfall that we could get some flash flooding? It exceeds flash flooding guidance, which is a number. It'll be like 3 to 5 inches, 4 to 5 inches. That's guidance that the Weather Service will issue depending on how much rain we've seen lately, how saturated the soils are, and they can say, okay, looking at all of that, what our ground looks like now, we could sustain about 3 to 4 inches per hour of rainfall before we really start having some flooding issues. When you get a bunch of rain and you got more rain coming, that number goes down. We can only sustain about 2 to 3 inches, right? And so if you look at this, this is a slight risk for today. Okay, that rain that's coming through this afternoon, this evening that I was talking about, that is going to give us that chance. This is for your Tuesday. Very similar look to it. All right, and so that's why today and tomorrow certainly we want to watch for it. As we move into Wednesday, they've backed off a little bit, but you see how it's over here on the West Coast. Because remember, that's what I was saying, this, whatever it is going to be out here, but we're going to have like bands coming in like this, right? And so it's just kind of training over the same areas. You got one comes here, you got another comes here, another comes here, and it ends up adding up. So that's my concern for Wednesday. Thursday, they've backed off even more, but still, remember, it's still right here along the coast, right? So you may have a ton of rain offshore, but I think we're still going to have a decent amount here. Plus, we're going to see more sunshine on Thursday. We have a southeast wind. We're going to get warm, well, obviously hot, but we're going to get very humid too. It's going to be very humid. Your windows at my house are all fogged up when the air conditioning's on because it's so moist outside. That's going to go all the way through Thursday. All right, so here's one more look at a bigger picture of the forecast model. This is tonight, okay? This is around 6:30 or so. So that rain that's up in the Gainesville area, just northeast of Citrus County, that's Hernando, Pasco, Pinellas, Hillsborough, 6:30, 7 o'clock. That right there is 9:30, and most of it's falling apart. All right, so we will get some breaks overnight tonight. Can't rule out a straight shower overnight, but most areas will stay dry. This is tomorrow morning, right around 7 a.m. Look at this. There's the spin. We'll see what it looks like right at that point. But watch this area here as it goes into Daytona Beach area. And here comes some good rain coming through. Okay, and you know, if you have family or friends in Northeast Florida, they need to watch for some spin ups. If this does organize a little bit more, you could get some water spouts trying to blow on shore up there. And then I would even watch that as this comes across here. So I'm going to be watching Citrus, Hernando, even Pasco County, northern Sumter County for any small, it's there, it's small, but there is a small tornado chance if this thing's spinning like that as it comes across. You get a lot of vorticity. So your center would be here, right? So if you go here and here, you're watching this what we call the northeast quadrant in here. And that's basically just going to come all the way across. Okay, so we'll be keeping an eye on it. We'll obviously let you know if something like that develops. But now look, you know, today's rain's coming in from the north. Let me back this up and watch this. Watch what happens. The storms are coming in. See Sarasota County and all moving northward through Polk County. And then it starts coming in from the south and the east. That's Wednesday. Oh, well, late Tuesday night. Center is already offshore, but we're going to have some scattered showers and storms along the coast drifting northward. See that? And that's Wednesday morning. 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon, heating, daytime heating. We'll get some sunshine. These are going to flare up, and they're going to move quickly to the north and the west, 20, 25 miles per hour at least. So they're going to be splash and dash storms, but some of them could be on the strong side. This is kind of a bigger picture. I like to show you this because you can get a better idea of what's happening. Here's our low now, and it's just going to do something like this. All right, let's put it into motion. There it is, moving into Daytona. That's Wednesday or late Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. It's out over the Northeast Gulf. And then it's tough to even see. Is it going in New Orleans maybe? It looks like it. See how it's a little bit heavier there? So that's kind of the track that's going to take and then curve up just a little bit. So rainfall, as I mentioned, our main issue. Again, this is well, different models will show you different numbers for the rainfall, and so you can keep that in mind. But you can use these types of forecast models to get an idea of where the center is. So obviously it's spinning out here. Look, most of the rain is going to be on the north side of this, and so you can see where all of that is. All right, so that kind of gives you a heads up when you're trying to figure out where this is going to go. All right, let's get back down here. I want to take you back out to our radar because we've got some good thunderstorms coming through. Remember, the main threat this evening is obviously lots of lightning, cloud-to-ground lightning. Look at Polk County right now. But also gusty winds in excess of about 50 miles per hour and some hail. Hail's not huge, but there has been some hail in there. Let's get in here to Polk County. Man, look at that. That is a good one. Flood advisory. Where do we have the flood advisory now? Oh, that's for Polk and Hillsborough. So let's look at that flood advisory now. That's in this area right here on the west side, right in here. So that's the flood advisory until 6:45. And the reason for that is because we've got obviously all the heavier rainfall that's come through, but let me read some data here. 2 to 4 inches of rain's already fallen, and another 1 to 2 is expected. So that flood advisory goes into effect now through 6:45, and this is all this area right in here. Willow Oak, Bealsville, Plant City, out towards Durant, and down towards Edison. Okay, see how it's just kind of still raining. This is a 1 hour loop. So you see the Plant City right there? It really kind of forms right there at I-4 and Plant City. So the worst area is going to be right in here from Plant City down towards Trapnell Road, Willow Oak. The normal spots that flood when you get heavy rain, they're likely already flooding at this particular point. Oh, let me back out of here. I think I lost that for you. I'll zoom back in here for you. But that's where I would expect most of this to be falling through. Now, that type of flooding that you're seeing right there, that can happen in any of these locations. All right? Let's just look at some estimated rainfall totals right now, 3.5. So that was the forecast from the Hurricane Center. They just said, Weather Service just said 2 to 4 with another 1 to 3 on top of that.